Hi everyone, I'm Ros Cardinal and welcome to this webinar on work-life balance. Before we start, I'd like you to pause the video and answer this question. What would you consider to be your 3 biggest challenges in obtaining a good work-life balance? Okay, welcome back. As we go through this webinar, I trust you're going to find some answers to those 3 challenges of yours. Welcome to the workshop. Work-life balance is really essential to combating stress and ensuring both individual and organisational success. The stress associated with unbalanced lifestyles is really costly. It damages productivity and increases individual health risks. Employees who have the tools to balance professional and personal lives tend to be happier, they tend to be healthier and more productive. And in addition to improving performance, many younger employees are placing a high value on work-life balance. Organisations that include work-life balance as part of their culture are generally better able to attract qualified candidates as well. The objectives of the workshop today are to explain the benefits of work-life balance, to help you recognise the signs of an unbalanced life, to identify employer resources to create balanced lifestyles, improve time management and goal setting, use the most effective work methods for you, create balance at work and at home, and manage stress. Understanding the benefits of a healthy, balanced life will motivate people to make necessary changes. Balance improves the lives of individual employees as well as the company culture. Learning the basics of work-life balance will also increase employee productivity, health and morale. A healthy balance between work and home should be a priority for everyone. Implementing proper work-life balance offers many important benefits. There are, however, many hazards linked with an unbalanced work and home life. So here are some of the risks. Poor health. Working long hours without taking time to relax will take its toll on health. Unresolved conflict. A lack of balance can create conflicts at work and also at home. Poor performance. Taking on too much responsibility will lead to exhaustion and cause your performance to suffer. And financial loss. The impact on health and productivity takes a financial toll on both individual employees and organisations. But there are benefits to getting it right. Fulfilment. People who successfully implement work-life balance improve their sense of fulfilment at work and at home. Health. A healthy work-life balance decreases the risk of heart disease and other health problems. Greater productivity. Being relaxed and well-rested increases productivity and improves work performance. And stronger relationships. Personal and professional relationships are strengthened and conflicts are avoided when there's work-life balance. Now, while it might seem counterintuitive, work-life balance can actually increase productivity. And while it's true that something like overtime initially increases production, the surge only lasts for a few weeks before it takes a destructive toll on people's productivity. And in fact, working for long hours for an extended time period will lead to exhaustion and unhealthy habits that decrease productivity. Shorter work hours actually increase productivity in the long term. And in addition, studies show that people who take short, frequent breaks are more productive than people who only take a single break or work all day. Most people recommend taking a few minutes each hour to regroup. And in fact, research shows us that about 90 minutes, give or take, is an ideal time to work before you need to take a break, just a couple of minutes to think about something else before you can get back into your activity effectively. There are some ways to increase your productivity. Take healthy breaks. You should be taking time to refresh yourself. Try stretching, walking, or even meditating throughout the day. It also improves your health and your overall well-being. Take enjoyable breaks. A recent study by Chen and Lim of National University of Singapore discovered that taking a few moments to surf the internet and mentally change gears actually increases productivity. The fun activity increases productivity by 9%. And taking time off. Working to the point of burnout is not productive or healthy. Don't lose your holiday days, even if you have to spread them out. Studies show that people who take vacations or holidays are much more productive than those who don't. Now, it's common knowledge that stress is directly linked to different diseases. Numerous surveys have discovered that work is a leading cause of stress-related illnesses and injuries such as stroke, heart disease and even mental breakdowns. A balanced life will improve both your physical and your mental health. So here's a couple of things and ways to improve your health. Awareness. A balanced lifestyle increases personal awareness and allows individuals to identify potential health problems early. And lifestyle. A balanced lifestyle automatically improves health. It encourages healthy choices and helps develop the body and the mind. Work-life balance is an effective tool to increase morale and improve organisational culture because employees seek out companies that support healthy work-life balance. And why wouldn't you? The only factor more important than balance to job seekers is compensation. And according to several surveys, work-life balance improves happiness and overall job satisfaction. Additionally, employees are more invested in companies that support their work-life balance, because work-life balance typically translates to employees who work harder and are more productive. The signs of imbalance are unmistakable. We see people suffering from poor health, burnout and stress every day. And for organisations, this increases cost in the form of absenteeism, health costs and turnover. If you recognise these signs in your life or your organisation, you need to take action immediately and really focus on work-life balance. Imbalance promotes poor health, and over time this can lead to devastating and possibly life-changing consequences for people. Here are some of the impacts on health. Obesity, because not taking time to exercise or eat well can increase obesity, which is connected to heart disease and numerous other health risks. Exhaustion. Sleeping well can add years to a person's life, but sacrificing sleep for work will have negative effects on health and increase the chances of getting ill. Emotional problems. Stress and exhaustion will wreak havoc on emotional well-being. It impacts relationships and personal identity. Now, more organisations are taking an interest in the health and fitness of their employees. It's now in an organisation's best interest to do so, because healthy employees are productive, absent less, and their healthcare costs less. Poor health increases employee absenteeism, and it is a costly problem for employers, because there are hidden and direct costs that must be paid when an employee is absent from work. Now, sick leave is pretty straightforward. Employees with sick days are still paid unless they've run out of their paid sick leave, which is a direct cost. But when you think about loss of productivity, even with someone to work the position of the sick employee, the employee who's familiar with the job will be more productive, and it's an indirect cost of sick days. And while most people who take time off are legitimately sick, stressed employees often take days off to catch up with personal obligations, as they usually feel justified doing so. Let's talk about burnout. Most people know that overworked employees eventually burn out. Burnout is a physical and psychological response to long-term stress. There are some definite signs for burnout. Loss of interest. Burned out employees cannot make themselves care about their work, which is the source of their stress after all. Lack of emotion. Emotional responses are abnormal when someone's burned out. Loss of motivation. Former motivators are no longer effective when you've got burnout. Possible depression. Burnout is closely linked to depression. Now, burnout harms organisations by increasing turnover. So consider the following. When everything's added together, 150% of an employee's annual salary is the cost of turnover. And when you look at members of management, the number goes to 200 to 250%. So when you lose somebody, it costs you 150% to replace them if they're, an average employee, and 200 to 250% of their annual salary for members of management. And that's a really big cost. And let's look at stress. Work is the main source of stress for many people. Stress's connection to obesity for workers in sedentary jobs is more significant than diet, according to the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. The effects stress has on heart health can actually be deadly. And there are some signs of stress. People can be over-emotional. People under stress can find it difficult to control their emotions. Lethargy, because the physiological impact of stress can cause people to become very tired. Restlessness. Stress can make it difficult to focus. It can cause hyperactivity and restlessness. And anxiety. Prolonged stress causes anxiety disorders. Let's have a look at a short case study. So this was a manager of a production company, and he was being recognised for all the wrong reasons because of his high turnover. The rate was 35% and growing. And since he knew no one would stay for long, he pushed his employees harder to get the most out of them while he still could. At exit interviews, people always said they lost interest and didn't think the job was worth it. Now, threatened with losing his job, the manager was forced to change, and he reduced his demands on employees, which he actually thought was going to be disastrous. But he was really surprised when his turnover dropped to 10% that quarter. Let's now look at resources for employers. Employers have the opportunity to improve work-life balance for their employees and increase productivity at the same time. Using the resources that employers have at their disposal to change work conditions may seem to be counterproductive, but they're effective. Now, traditionally, employers set all of the parameters concerning jobs. Keeping all control, however, augments stress on employees. Simply offering employees more control over their lives and establishing better work-life balance will help alleviate the stress. Studies show that employee control actually increases loyalty and productivity. Now, there are many ways to offer employees control, and we'll go over some of them in detail later in this webinar. But here are some ways to offer control. Flex time, job sharing, and telecommuting. These are just a few examples of employee control, but anything that empowers an employee to take charge of his or her life offers them with control. Now, employees have some of the best ideas on how to improve their jobs and the organisation as a whole. Now, these ideas, however, don't always get communicated because many employees don't feel people in management care, and most managers often don't think to sit down with each employee and ask them for suggestions. So the best way to hear about new and innovative ideas is to create an employee suggestion program. And here are some tips. You need to make it simple. Create a simple process for giving suggestions because complicated rules don't encourage people to do it. You need to respond. You need to let employees know you've got the suggestions and will consider them. You need to thank each employee who gives a suggestion, even if they're suggestions that you don't intend to use. And finally, you need to reward people who come up with useful suggestions. Now, with suggestions you don't intend to use, it is important to close the loop with people and let them know perhaps why it's not happening. So maybe it just isn't feasible at this particular time. Given the unavoidable stress of life, most people face times when they do need assistance. Employee assistance programs provide employees with access to counselling and other services. Without the aid of EAP counsellors, the effects of stress can actually spiral out of control. Employee assistance programs give individuals the opportunity to seek help and to learn the skills necessary to improve work-life balance. So some typical things that EAPs can cover are personal crisis, work stress, finances, and maybe even substance abuse. EAPs are really useful investments for organisations because they help bring down turnover and reduce absences because they're teaching strategies for good work-life balance. And rewarding staff. This may seem pretty basic, but rewarding staff is an effective method for promoting work-life balance. Employees who feel appreciated and valued are more confident, and rewards reinforce the behaviour that you want to see repeated. Rewards can also provide breaks that reduce stress. And look, rewards don't have to break the bank. There are simple ways to thank employees for service. So things like public acknowledgement, extra time off, awards, promotions, or even a work Christmas party can all go a really long way towards helping people feel valued and acknowledged.